What's up, ladies and gentlemen? So today we are starting our brand new series completely away from signs and houses. Well, signs and planets, not houses. But today is our first episode of Lords of Houses through Houses. And what do I mean by Lords? I mean, if you're new to this channel, what does that mean if I do first Lord in the first house? Well, the thing is, in your horoscope, each planet becomes a lord of certain house. So when you were born, the sign that was rising from the eastern horizon became your ascendant sign. And with that, it became the very first house of your horoscope. So it is known as the first house. And whoever rules that first house becomes that first lord. So that's what we're going to discuss. What happens when the ascendant lord goes to different houses? So we're going to go through this series, and complete that cycle. But let's say if you were born, when you were born on the eastern horizon, the lord of that sign was in that sign. The planet was residing in that sign. That means it was right there in the ascendant. So what does that mean, when the ascendant lord is in the ascendant, the first lord in the first house? Well, first of all, what is the first house? First house represents your body, your physical body, your appearance. It also shows your part of your personality, because like I said in my sun through signs, your personality is formed by your rising sign, moon sign, and your sun sign. So this becomes actually a very strong indicator of your personality. What's your personality doing? Where is your life focuses? Okay. And the first house is also known as the house of health, because it's your physical body. How well is your health? How well is your physical vitality in your life? So then, if the first lord is sitting in the first house, meaning that it's sitting in its own sign, okay? And if it's sitting in its own sign, it's providing protection to that house. It's providing protection to your physical body. It's providing protection to your health, to your vitality, okay? But you gotta understand this. Not every first lord in the first house is gonna act the same way, okay? So if you want to know the basic first lord in the first house, it shows that somebody who is in this life really concentrating on themselves and their life versus any other area of life. They will be very much about their appearance, how they look. They will be concerned about how their health is. They'll be concerned about what's happening, with their body. When they go out, they want to make sure they look perfect. They want to make sure that they present themselves in the manner of their rising sign. Okay, but it doesn't always mean that because you see it all over the place on the internet and books that the person is going to be intelligent and they're going to be well fed and they're going to be do well in life. I'm sure you have seen many people, you yourself, who might have ascendant lord in the ascendant is not doing well. Okay, and that's because of the fact you got to also see what planet is aspecting the first house. Is Saturn, Mars, or Rahu, Ketu, any planet, any one of these planets, including Sun, aspects the first house? How many malefic planets versus benefic planet aspect your first house? Meaning, look at there, because when they look, they alter the significance of that house. Then we're going to jump on, what is your rising sign? Is your rising sign the first house sign Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer? Because according to that, a different planet will rule that different house. So let's say if you're in Aries and you have Mars in the first house, that shows that you're very competitive. You're not out there to just make peace. You're there to use your physical body for competition. You are a very forceful figure, very angered person. And Mars in the sign of Aries is a very hot combination, because Aries is a fire sign. Mars is a significator of fire. So these guys are very headstrong. They're very dominating in terms of getting what they want in life. They want it. When they want something, they will go after it and they get it. And they will do it through competition. They will do it through forcefulness. They will do it to their agility. And what happens is, these people, they may have the protection of the health, but the thing is, they're constantly running into scenarios of getting cuts and burns and bruises and getting their bones fractured. But then the thing is, when ascendant lord is in the ascendant, that doesn't mean you're always going to be protected from bad things happening to your body. No, You may get a fracture, you may get cuts and burns, but will you come out of it is what the protection shows of the ascendant lord in the ascendant. If Venus is in Taurus in the first house, it shows that you are very much about security. You're very much about, getting the most finest things in life. You look for partners. You look for relationship. You form relationship that can increase your stability, that can increase your value, increase your assets, and you're very sensual in your way. You want to visit only pleasant things in life. You want to relate to pleasant people who can increase your status in life, who can increase your wealth, increase your value. You're going to be very much about your appearance. Am I looking beautiful enough? Because Venus is more about that beauty, where Mars is more about that rugged soldier. So when Mars is in Aries, these people are like, I'm going to go out there in the party and I'm going to look the way I look. I don't care what anybody thinks of it. So you see what's happening now. Now remember one thing though for Taurus ascendant. Venus rules the 6th house, okay? And Venus ruling the 6th house, not only the 6th house, but it's a small Trikon sign, meaning that Venus really controls the sign of Libra more than Taurus. So this shows that a Taurus ascendant person with Venus in the ascendant will face a lot of ups and downs in their health. They will face diseases related to Venus. They can have kidney problems, they can have diabetes, problem with sugar level. Okay, so that's another thing you have to look for. They will face a lot of obstacles with other people. They will have like people trying to go after them legally or in disputes, throughout life, or at least in the major period of Venus Mahadasha. Now, if you have Gemini ascendant and Mercury is in the first house, you're going to be a very communicative person. You're going to want people to communicate with you. You're going to wanting to be that guy who has all the information, who people come to the first house to gain information, to gain ideas. You'll be that person who's always about, going from this idea to that idea. Very entrepreneurial nature. They're very much comfortable, when they're expressing themselves through ideas, through communication, through speech. They're very business-minded people. They're able to take any product and they're able to sell that product, market that product. If you're a Cancer ascendant and Moon is in the sign of Cancer, it shows a person is very calm, very much intuitive person. They're a very motherly person. When they go out in the party, when they go out meet with other people, they become very nurturing kind of people. They're very protective of themselves. They don't let anybody harm them, because Moon is a very sensitive planet. Moon gets hurt easily and influenced easily. So these people are always like protecting their feelings. They're always guarding themselves. Like, okay, why are you saying this to me? Who's saying what about me? But they have this very caring and motherly nature toward themselves. They want people to come to them for nourishment. They want people to come to them for advice and guidance, because they have that motherly divine nature of themselves activated. Let's say if you are a Leo ascendant and Sun is in the first house in his own sign, Leo. This shows this person is very comfortable with their personality, very comfortable with their ego, very comfortable with their self-esteem. They know who they are. They love to express themselves and be the center of attention. They like to be the guiding authority for everybody. And the thing is, Sun is a hot planet. Again, hot planet, and then Leo is a hot sign. It's a fiery sign. But it's different from Mars. Mars is a soldier who's out there to get you. The king, Sun, is out there to make orders. So these guys like to be in charge of themselves. They want to be in charge of their destiny, their life, their career, their everything. So these guys do very well with their own business, because they're very authoritative. They need to be in charge. They need to command people. They cannot take orders from other people. Mars can take orders. So if you have Mars in the ascendant as an Aries, you will be able to take orders, but the execution of that is what you want to be responsible for. So for Leo ascendant, they're very dynamic. They're more about finding that authoritative personality in themselves, and they're very much about, making sure that the things are being governed well, whether they're in government, whether they're in, a corporation or their own business. They want to make sure every sector is doing well. And they love getting the attention because sun is the brightest planet. Sun is, the brightest planet for all the human beings in this entire solar system. So they like being the center of attention. They want to make sure that people recognize them and their authority. And when you ignore them, they will come to you and they will get in your face. Do you know me? Do you know who I am? You see, these are my rules. Are you sure of that? Do you know that I have created these things? They'll get into your face, but they have a high self-esteem. They're proud people. And so their entire life becomes about that authoritative nature. Virgo ascendant. Mercury rules the sign of Virgo, and Mercury is exalted in Virgo. So when Mercury is in the first house, it shows this person is absolutely an intelligent, clever person who's very calculative about their life, who's very calculative about organizing their life. They know exactly when to do, how much to do, where to do, and they're perfectionist. When they go out, they want to make sure that they have the neat and clean and ironed slacks and shirt and whatever they're wearing. They're very much about cleanliness. They want to make sure that everything is organized in their life. They make some of the best accountants. They make some of the best, managers and financial managers, because Virgo ascendant is about perfection. Virgo ascendant is about making sure everything is in order. So the Lord, when it's in that house, He's protecting that house in the first house. He's making sure your personality is that way. Your personality is all about, how much can I get out of this deal? They're more about, like, what can I get? How much will this investment cost me? Even with marriage, they'll be like, will this marriage be helpful? Will this person that I'm in love with will be helpful to me or not? So all of these things then come into play with Virgo ascendant. And Mercury, he's that curious a planet that is all about ideas. But in sign of Virgo, he wants to structure and implement those ideas. So what they do with every aspect of their life, they like to manage and organize that. Whether it's their kids, whether it's their parents, whether it's their spouse, they want to make sure that everybody is organized, or they will try to organize. They will try to become managers because Mercury is a manager. Okay. So that's what these people do, and including in medical field, they can be very good because it's all about details. They can be very good in making sure that that prescription of the detailed prescription is going by the rules. And in terms of education, they can be brilliant mathematicians, having it on their head, Mercury exalted, especially around 10 and 15 degrees. Libra. Venus rules that. Venus is a Multrikon sign for Venus. So these people are very artistic, very much about beauty, very much about design. Their personality is about how can I make myself look more beautiful? I don't care about status as much and getting the wealth. I want to make things look beautiful in my life. And I want to have a balanced relationship with everybody. I don't want to be too obsessed about my partner, my spouse. I don't want to be too obsessed about how my home is or my kids are. I want to let them loose a little bit, but I just want to make sure that my home is beautiful and has an artisticness to it. When I wear something, I want to make sure it's designer. I want to make sure that it's different from other people. I enjoy music. I love music and I love acting. I like the artistic side of life more than anything else. And their personality, they're confident when they're artistic. When they are doing anything artistic, when they're doing anything creative, their confidence is there. As soon as you take them away from their element, Venus is not going to feel good. Now again, for Libra ascendant, Venus rules the 8th house as well, the sign of Taurus. So what does this tell you about Libra people? Is that Libra people face a lot of transformation in their relationships. See, a Libra ascendant person is always craving relationships. They need to have a relationship in order to really function. It's pretty much is required for their vitality, for their physical being. They love being in a relationship and they need to be in a relationship. It's like a medicinal thing. But Venus ruling the 8th house will show that they will have transformation through relationship. They can be pleasant transformation, okay, meaning that they can suddenly find wealth, they can suddenly find security, they can suddenly find artistic, creative, and spiritual bliss through a relationship. But if a negative planet aspects Venus, or a malefic planet sits in the sign of Taurus in the 8th house, shows that this person will face transformation in a negative way, where they will go through many relationships that will bring a change into their life. And the same thing happens with, Aries and Scorpio ascendant, because Mars will rule either the 6th or the 8th house. So these four ascendant goes through a lot of, transformational and period of health. But again, remember, aspect and conjunction. See if Venus is with any other planet. That's going to mold the situations of the first house. Scorpio, ruled by Ketu and Mars. But let's say if Mars is sitting there, okay, in the sign of Scorpio, these guys are going to be very intense about making sure that things in their life have been dealt with the maximum amount of authoritativeness, because Mars in the sign of Scorpio is quite different from Aries. In Aries, Mars wants to compete and wants to, go out there on your face. For Scorpio, when Mars is in Scorpio, these guys don't necessarily want to go in your face. They want to go kind of behind your face, and they kind of want to go behind your back. They kind of want to go in the dark. So these guys, this is a very secretive personality. Whatever they do, they want to make sure that things are not just exposed to the world. Because Scorpio is the 8th sign, meaning that it has the energy of the 8th house. So Mars takes them into the secret endeavors. Everything they want to keep it a secret and keep it intense. Their life is all about going through transformation. They can get into an accident and suddenly they realize, I need to do this. I need to become a trauma doctor. So they get transformed through this ascendant Mars, who's trying to protect their personality, yet their personality is very intense, very focused, and very secretive. Jupiter is Sagittarius ascendant. Jupiter is in the first house. These people are going to be like a guiding light to everybody. They're going to be those motivators that, hey, anything is possible. The great optimism comes into their personality. When they go, they want to not direct anybody, be authoritative. They're like, hey, this is how you do things. See this? This is how you manage things. This is how you will do things. They'll become a guiding light to every aspect of their life, including their children's spouse. They'll become this guru, this teacher for their children, for their spouse. The spouse will look at them as like, wow, this is my guiding light. And Jupiter brings that sense of knowledge, intensity of knowledge and philosophy and religion and rituals. They're very much into religion and rituals, unless Jupiter is retrograde. Then they might want to go against the social norm, and they'll go be more into astrology versus celebrating Diwali. Or they'll be more into tarot cards versus celebrating Christmas. So you have to see if the planet is retrograde or not, because then it'll go against the social norm. For Capricorn ascendant, Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. So when Capricorn is in the ascendant and Saturn is there, what happens is this person has to work hard with everything in their life. Because Saturn is a disciplinarian, he's the organizer, the structure giver, and he puts all the discipline in you, and he puts the ethics of hard work in you. He is about delay and frustration. However, these guys are very serious personality. When they go and interact with people, every aspect, from their friends to mother to children to spouse to teachers to colleagues, anybody, they're very serious and direct. They're like, hey, I want to do this, 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 and this, and I want to get it out of there. I'll get it out of the way right now. They're very disciplined, yet they become very frustrated in life because Saturn keeps delaying it. Even though this is a Saturn's own sign, it's not Saturn's most, optimistic sign like Aquarius. But this is where Saturn's like, no, you have to work hard. So they have to work hard on their personality. They have to keep up their health, otherwise their health can deteriorate. Because Saturn is a natural malefic. Saturn is the significator of what? Death. 8th house and 12th house. But that doesn't mean if you're Capricorn ascendant in this ascendant house that you're going to die. You're still living. Obviously, you're watching this video. But what happens is Saturn brings like maybe chronic diseases, chronic illness. You might have a pain in your hand all the time, but depending upon, if Saturn is in middle degrees, He will keep your health and vitality solid. But in Saturn Dasha, you will face things like your joint pains and chronic pains and all kinds of chronic pains in your bones and muscles or anything. But these people have to really have structure, organization, and discipline to work out any situation in life. When it comes to education, they know they have to be disciplined and focused and organized. If they're not, if any one of these elements go out, their entire thing fails. So they have to be, and they have this like darker skin. They have this, I know I didn't go on appearance much, but my bad. But they have this very darkish gray appearance. They'll have these thick eyebrows, and they will have just this serious nature. When they come to you, it looks like, wow, they are quite serious about their life, and they're very authoritative about their life, and their whole life becomes about work. Somehow work takes over. Why? Because from the first house, Saturn aspects the 10th house and the third house of self-efforts. They're always putting efforts into everything. Okay? Then come Aquarius ascendant. If Saturn is in Aquarius ascendant, it's his Mool Trikon sign. Meaning that this person is not just about hard work, discipline, and organization. This person wants to go out and be like a creator of large organization. This person is curious about networking with people and making something better in society. They're like the revolutionary people. They're the inventors. They're the the CEOs of company who are out there to make something better in the world. If Capricorn ascendant is more of an administrative person who is already working on something which is perfect and just maintaining it, Saturn in Aquarius in the first house, somebody who wants to innovate more, who wants to, let's say there's a swimming pool and Saturn and Aquarius person is in charge, they're going to see, what if I had a heated pool? People would like that. What if I added like 2 jacuzzis next to the pool? That will add more to my apartments and my apartment complex. So they're innovative in their thinking. So these people not only have that Saturn quality of, being structured and disciplined about their work, but they think further than that. They think more of a worldly scientific view on things. Okay? Then comes the last sign, Pisces. If you're Pisces ascendant and Jupiter is in the sign of Pisces, spirituality has taken over you. You may not care about the religion as much, but you're more about making a spiritual connection with everybody, including yourself. You'll be into meditation, you'll be into yoga, you'll be into knowing about these, ancient scriptures like the Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, Bible, the Quran, and you'll be into even things like, tarot card reading, astrology, numerology, and you would have this intuitive power. Your whole life will be about intuition. If you go somewhere in the party, the way you look, you would do that based on your intuition. So you may wear the worst clothes one day, but because you yourself intuitively knew that you look good and feel good, you wouldn't care what everybody else thinks. But yet you're this spiritual and imaginative and artistic guiding light in the lives of people. Helicopter. I wonder where the ascendant of this helicopter is. But again, anyway, Pisces ascendant, every aspect of their life, then they start having intuition about them. They become more spiritual about dealing with the mother. When it comes to education, they will pursue something that they're intuitively feeling, not what their parents are saying, or not what the latest trend is in the career field. If they know they're going to be that monk, they're going to be that monk. The marriage aspect becomes very spiritual. They're not going to just marry anybody. They need to have a spiritual connection with the spouse. They don't marry people for status. They don't marry people for money and looks. They marry for spiritual connection. Now, if Mars, Venus, or Saturn is aspecting or sitting in the ascendant, of course they're going to look for beauty. Of course they're going to look for status. Okay, but mainly this is a spiritual connection. Okay, so guys, this is my detailed analysis of the first lord in the first house. Hope you liked it. So if you're new to my channel, subscribe below because I'll be going first lord in the second house next. And if you want to know where your first lord is placed and if it's in the first house, For that, check out the link below. Check out my books there, Astrology at the Speed of Light and Conjunctions at the Speed of Light. And when you get these books, I will send you the link to look at your own chart. Just make sure you follow the directions below. Otherwise, we'll see you next time with First Lord in the second house. Bye-bye.